I never thought peace could shatter so fast. Our family had just moved to the edge of the valley, quiet, pine-covered, stretched far from the city, where the night air smelled like rain, and the loudest thing around was the hum of cicadas. Bought a cabin, nothing fancy, but it was ours. They don't last long when evil comes knocking. It was exactly 3:08 a.m. when the world outside exploded into noise. Boom! The metal gate we had just installed last month ripped clean off its hinges like it was made of tin. My wife jolted up in bed, heart racing. My 13-year-old son, Aiden, who was sleeping in the loft. So when headlights shot across our gravel driveway, lighting up the porch like a theater stage, I knew in my gut this wasn't random. My wife whispered, "Is that the sheriff?" But deep down, I knew it. WASN, single quotes T. Aiden was already moving barefoot, alert, like he was born for this moment. We had talked about emergencies before, about self-defense. We had walked the land together, trained, and learned how to handle ourselves. We didn't raise a violent boy, we raised a protector, out there in the dark. A man stepped out of the truck that had smashed our gate. He wore a Navy jacket, letters on the back HOA security, but it was a lie. Our land isn't in any HOA. That was the whole reason we bought it. No rules, no bullies, just freedom. He had no badge, just a clipboard and a flashlight. He walked like he owned the place. His eyes scanned the porch, then the windows. He yelled, "You're trespassing. Step out now before I drag you out." My heart dropped. He wasn't here to talk. He came to intimidate, maybe worse. I grabbed my phone, no signal. That's when the man started walking toward the cabin, a crowbar in his hand. Aiden moved past me, calm but focused. Then he vanished into the shadows of the hallway. The front door creaked open. Cold air flooded in. The man was almost on the porch now, boots crunching over broken gate metal and gravel, and in that moment, I remembered something chilling 2 days earlier. I had seen that same truck watching us from the tree line. I had brushed it off. I shouldn't have suddenly dashed crack. I ran forward, swung the door wide there, under the porch light. The man was on the ground, yelling, his weapon yards away, and my son stood just beyond him, shoulders squared, holding the family's emergency defense rifle, his voice steady. "I warned you not to come any closer." I couldn't believe what I was seeing. But this was only the beginning, because when we checked the man's truck, what we found inside changed everything. The porch light flickered in the cold morning air, casting a pale circle over the gravel. The man was groaning, face twisted in pain, a streak of blood on his jacket where the bullet had grazed his shoulder. It wasn't fatal. Aiden hadn't missed. He'd made a deliberate warning shot. Just enough to stop him. I dropped to my knees and checked on the guy. His jacket was fake. So was the ID clipped to his belt plastic. Cheap. But he didn't budge. He was breathing hard, but his eyes were sharp, controlled, like something inside him had clicked. "He had zip ties in his back pocket," Aiden muttered. "What?" "Zip ties, Dad, like the ones they use to restrain people." Then turned toward the truck, still idling just feet away. Its front bumper crumpled from slamming through our gate. I climbed into the cab, hands shaking. The inside of the truck smelled like old coffee and something sour. There were papers everywhere, and in the backseat duffel bags. I unzipped the first one. My throat tightened. Inside were 3 pairs of handcuffs, 2 more crowbars, duct tape, and a stack of printed property maps. Our land was marked in red dot marked, like we were a target. The second bag was worse. It held cameras, hidden cameras, with labels, back porch, driveway, loft window. He had been watching us for days, maybe weeks. I backed out of the truck like it was on fire. My wife stood on the porch holding her phone in the air, trying to get a signal. No luck. Nothing but dead air out here. "We need the sheriff," she said. I nodded, still staring at that map, but something didn't add up. Why fake being HOA? Why us? And why come armed alone at 3 a.m.? I looked at him, his face pale, but eyes locked on the tree line dot, and then I saw it too. Dot movement, shadows pulling back into the woods, fast, quiet, like ghosts, vanishing into darkness. "We weren't just dealing with a crazy trespasser. This was organized," Aiden whispered. "They were watching to see what we'd do." My blood turned cold. I grabbed the emergency sat phone from the safe in the cabin, dialed the sheriff's direct number. 10 rings voicemail. Then a sound outside the truck's engine revving. I raced back out, but the man was gone. Just gone. Blood trail leading into the trees. Truck door wide open. Bag still inside, but he had vanished like a ghost. And out there in the woods, something was waiting. Something bigger than we understood. Because later that morning, when the sheriff finally showed up, he told us something that made my stomach drop. That same man had broken into 2 other homes this month. Both families gone no trace, vanished, and now. Still the same pine needles underfoot. Same long shadows cast by the trees, but the silence wasn't peaceful anymore. It was heavy, like it was listening. The sheriff stood with his arms crossed, boots crunching the gravel as he walked the perimeter of the broken gate. His face was pale, drawn tight like he hadn't slept in days. "You're lucky," he muttered. "Real lucky your boy knew what he was doing." I didn't feel lucky. I felt hunted. The sheriff ran the plates on the truck, registered to a namery Brenson, except Brenson had died last year. Cancer. The address linked to an abandoned lot down in Jackson County. Classic burner identity. We showed him the zip ties, the maps, the cameras, and when we handed over the map marked with our cabin in red, he went dead quiet. His hand reached for the radio, but he didn't press the button. "Not yet. What is it?" I asked. He exhaled slow. "Third one this month. Different counties. Same MO, same guy." "No," he said, eyes scanning the tree line. "Different men, same tactics, fake HOA badges, late-night attacks, all of M trained, coordinated, and the families." His eyes met mine. Gone. No signs of struggle, no bodies, just ... gone. A chill ran through me. My wife held our younger daughter in her arms, rocking her on the porch swing. Aiden stood like a soldier at the edge of the porch, watching the woods. He hadn't said a word since sunrise. Then the sheriff leaned in and said something that froze my blood. "Think someone's recruiting ex-military types. Building a rogue network. People who won't be missed right away." I blinked. "Why us?" "Because you made it easy," he said flatly. "New family, no landlines, no neighbors, no HOA. They think you're vulnerable." He looked at Aiden. They didn't count on him. I looked at my son barefoot, eyes sharp, jaw tight, just 13. But something in him had changed. He wasn't a child anymore. Sheriff stepped back. "I'm leaving 2 deputies out here tonight, just in case." But as the day wore on, one thing became terrifyingly clear. We were being watched again. Aiden spotted the first one up on the ridge, between the trees. Just a flicker, then gone. Then I spotted another, closer. They were circling, measuring, waiting at dusk. We put plywood over every window, moved furniture against the doors, loaded every magazine we had. Not even for a second. He stood watch in the loft. Rifle beside him, eyes locked on the shadows outside. At 2:46 a.m., the dogs started barking. At 2:50, we heard footsteps outside. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Slow, heavy, calculated, then bang. A figure slammed into the back door. Then another hit the front porch, boots pounding. I raised my weapon. My wife grabbed the baby. The lights flickered, and from the loft above, Aiden yelled one word, "Down." A flash. A blast, odd. First shot. Then the whole cabin erupted in noise. They weren't here to scare us anymore. They were here to take us, but not without a war. The air cracked like thunder. The first shot from Aiden's rifle shattered the front window, and the masked man ducked, diving behind the porch column. But he wasn't fast enough. The bullet tore through his shoulder. He went down, screaming. Into the dirt, another figure rushed the back door, slamming it with something metal. The hinges groaned, wood splintered. My wife huddled behind the kitchen island with our daughter, trying to keep her quiet. I moved to cover them, breathing fast, trying not to panic. The cabin was under siege. Aiden never stopped. From the loft, he had the high ground, his eyes locked in, calm, precise. He wasn't just shooting wild, he was protecting. Every time someone got close, he pushed them back. Round after round, outside, I could hear the sheriff's deputies yelling, "Drop your weapons, get down." But then came a new sound. Pop, pop, pop. SUPPRESSORS. They were firing back-controlled, trained like a squad. This wasn't a break-in. This was a tactical hit. I rushed to the back door just as it gave way with a sickening crunch. A figure in black stormed in, holding a taser and zip ties. He moved like he'd done this 100 times. I tackled him. Hard, the two of us crashed into the floor. He fought like a machine, elbowed me in the ribs. The man went limp. Aiden had saved me. Again, I rolled the body over. This guy had tattoos: military, special forces. Name tags sewed into his vest. C. Morgan, not a thief, not a junkie. Someone trained. Someone paid. From outside, another scream. Tires screeching. One of the deputies' trucks was on fire, flames rising above the trees. Whoever was out there wasn't backing down, and then the unthinkable. Our power cut, the house went black. All we had was the flicker of flames from outside, the sound of broken glass, and my boy still holding the line from above, eyes scanning, heart pounding, every muscle wired. He yelled down to me, "There's more coming from the east side, 3 of them." How did he know that? He had pulled the live drone feed on his old phone, one we'd used for practice surveillance months ago. He was watching them move. He planned for this. At 13, I looked up at him. "Aiden, how?" "I've been watching them since that truck first came. I knew they'd come back." He had wired the tree cams, used old batteries, set up motion alerts. He'd been ready all along. But nothing prepared us for what came next. A massive flash lit the outside. Something exploded near the shed. We all ducked. And then, silence. No shots, no shouts. No shouts, no footsteps. Just dead, suffocating silence. We waited 10 seconds, 30, a full minute, nothing. Aiden moved first, creeping down the stairs. Rifle still ready. I followed. We opened the front door slowly, and gasped. They were gone. The bodies were gone. All of them vanished into the trees. Only blood, trails, and boot prints remained, and on the porch, nailed into the wood with a combat knife, was a single sheet of paper. No words, just a red X drawn. Over the map of our property. They hadn't come to finish the job. They came to test us, and we passed. But they'd be back. Dawn broke through the smoke. Our cabin was scarred, windows shattered, furniture splintered, scorch marks near the shed. But none of us felt like winners. The sheriff returned just after sunrise, his face pale. One of his deputies had gone missing. No trace, radio silent. The other one, shaken to his core, said only one thing before being taken away in an ambulance: they moved like shadows. They knew our names. Inside, my wife held our daughter like she was made of glass. She hadn't spoken a word since the blast. Just quiet tears and shaking hands. But Aiden stood on the porch, bruised, tired, but tall, watching still. Holding that rifle like it was an extension of himself. He wasn't 13 anymore. He was something more. I walked up beside him. "They'll come back," he said, voice steady. "I know." He turned to me, finally letting the fear crack through. "Just a little. Why us, Dad? Why here? Why did they pick our family?" I didn't have the answers. All I could do was put my arm around him and say the truth. Because evil doesn't need a reason, but it picked the wrong family. The sheriff called in feds that afternoon, but by the time they arrived, the blood had dried, the tracks were gone, and the bodies, like ghosts. No fingerprints, no IDs, nothing. This down to the second. The agents found something else, though. A buried trail cam, one we hadn't placed, hidden under leaves, aimed directly at our cabin door. It had a transmitter. Someone was watching us. "Liv," the agent looked disturbed. "This is way above what we've seen. This isn't local. It's part of something bigger." Aiden came over and looked at the footage before they yanked it. One frame froze him in place, a man standing on the ridge, face hidden, watching us. But there was something in his hand, something that made my stomach drop. Aiden's old school ID, his name, his face. They didn't just find us. They had studied us, known us, followed our every move. That night, I couldn't sleep. None of us could. We sat in silence, weapons loaded, emergency lights ready. Aiden didn't speak for hours. Then finally, as he stared out the window at the woods, he whispered, "They're not done." I swallowed. "Then neither are we." We reinforced the gates, installed solar-powered floodlights, bought motion drones. I started training every day with Aiden, not just because of what had happened, but because of what we knew deep down. They would return, not for money, not for revenge, but for control, and they thought they could scare us into running. They were wrong. We're still here. We're still watching. And next time they come, we won't just survive. We'll be ready. Because now we know the truth. They're not some rogue group. They're a system, a hidden network in plain sight. And our family, we're the ones who broke their silence. This land is our home. And no matter who comes next, we don't run.